What's going on, San Antonio Spurs fans? I know it's been a minute since I last posted a video on YouTube, but I'm finally back with some silver and black content. More specifically, we're going to be covering Luka Samanic and his return to the NBA after being called up from the G League bubble. He only had 4 points and 4 rebounds in 19 minutes, but there's so much more to the game than just a box score, so let's go ahead and hop into the tape and review some of my favorite and least favorite plays from the second year forward. On this first play, Luka creeps a little bit too deep into the post, and let's pause it right here. I think he's anticipating an SGA drive, which does happen. Let's unpause it. Trey ends up deflecting this kick out. Luka goes for the steal and misses it, and let's pause it again. This is right where the defensive breakdown happens for Luka. So he's behind Dort, and Dort is going to kick it out, and we'll unpause it. And he's kind of unsure. Is he going to go follow Dort? He makes a decision a little too late, gets in the way of Jakob, and he's also out of position to contest that shot, and it's a bucket for Horford. There were certainly good and bad moments for Luka Samanic on the defensive end throughout this game, but on this possession in particular, I found it especially impressive on how he navigates this double screen here, really just comes off of it pretty easily, shows off his mobility, and that's a good sign for his defensive development going forward. Now, I can't be 100% sure that Popovich draws this play up for Luka specifically, but it's kind of what it looks like he does here with the end result, and DeJounte's going to get the inbounds pass, but what I want you to watch is Luka in the left corner after this Lyle screen. Luka approaches Jakob full speed and rounds the corner off of a screen and finishes over the top of Theo Maledon after getting downhill, and it's a really nice aggressive finish, something we didn't see from him last year. And while it came over a defender who he has about 6.5 inches on in terms of height, it was encouraging to see him be aggressive in a mismatch situation. Before we hop into this play, I want to talk a little bit about Luka Samanic as a ball handler. Now, he turned the ball over a little bit in the G League, doing a bit too much, but I wouldn't say there were any red flags. And in fact, I would say he has the potential to be a better ball handler and might already be a better ball handler than most big men in the NBA, but that handle is going to have to tighten up, and we'll go ahead and roll the tape here. So Bazley's going to miss a 3 here. Luka grabs the rebound, and as you can see, he's really comfortable handling the ball, but he goes into a sort of in-and-out crossover dribble that he just loses, and he's just doing too much. He's going to have to get better if he wants to handle the ball in the NBA, but overall, I'm encouraged by what I've seen from him and what he's willing to do. The following sequence was a roller coaster from Luka. He does a really excellent job here of holding his ground against Horford and forcing him into a tough shot. And then following a scrum for the ball, there's sort of a miscommunication, or rather no communication between Lonnie and Luka that leaves Shea open for 3. And he took advantage of the Spurs' dysfunction early to get a ton of points in the first half. Lonnie Walker commits an atrocious turnover, and Luka could have just given up on this play, but he runs back in transition, does an excellent job of disturbing Bazley enough to get him to miss, but unfortunately tips it back out to the Thunder. But the basketball gods reward Luka for his effort. Shea misses, and he gets a good karma rebound, and the Spurs are going the other way. This is going to be an example of the good and bad from Luka in close proximity to one another, and let's go ahead and pause it up top so you can see that Muscala is going to set a screen here on Luka, and we'll unpause it briefly and pause. So we can see that Bazley rejected the screen and that Muscala and him had some sort of miscommunication, nearly bumping into one another, but there's going to be another miscommunication in this time between Jakob and Luka, and as you can see by the positioning of Jakob, it looks like he's in some sort of drop coverage, whereas Luka should probably stay with the ball handler, whoever ends up with the ball up top, and we'll unpause it. That clearly isn't the case. They both sag off, leaving Muscala wide open for a 3, but that's okay, doesn't really matter in the end. And we have Luka here, back to the basket, kind of retreat dribbling and crossover to Euro step. Beautiful move from the second year forward, and that's the kind of stuff that makes him such a unique big man. I won't spend too much time on this one, just another example of why Luka needs to tighten up that handle. He gets a bit too ahead of himself and loses the ball, but it doesn't hurt the Spurs as Lonnie drains this triple and gives them a 6-point lead in the second quarter. One of the things that stood out to me was just how well Luka Samanic covered Lou Dort in man-to-man situations. Now, Dort is by no means a speed demon, but he's incredibly strong, has a low center of gravity, and that could easily knock Luka off course as a defender, but Luka always did an exceptional job of hanging with him, staying on his hip, and we'll go ahead and roll the film so that we can see what I'm talking about here. So we're going to watch him come off this screen and already have Luka beat, it seems, but Luka just stays right with him, forces him into a really tough shot that results in a Jakob Poeltl jump ball with Al Horford, and that's great stuff from the second year forward. One of the perceived strengths of Luka coming out of the draft a few years ago was his three-point shooting potential, and while he hasn't lived up to that billing quite yet, shooting 29.7% from three on 6.2 attempts per game in the G League, one of the things I like about this play as it develops is his willingness to just let it fly, and that's not something we really saw a year ago, and yes, he bricks it, but to me that's an encouraging sign that he should only improve his stroke as he continues to work with shooting coach Chip England. One of the things that I like from Luka from this game was how well he defended this dribble handoff. Just sticks to Lu Dort once again, doesn't bite on the crossover and forces him into an air ball. And even though he leaves a bit to be desired as a team defender, as a man-to-man guy, he's been pretty solid so far. And here's some of that subpar team defense that I was talking about. Now we're going to watch Patty kind of bite a little too much here. Luka does a good job initially helping here, but then he's just kind of lost in no man's land, not really sure where to go, doesn't really cover anybody, doesn't really recover back to anyone, and by the time he contests this SGA triple, it's just too late, and he does occasionally just look a little confused out there. I think that final defensive miscue was the last straw for Coach Popovich, and he pulled Luka from the game, and we didn't see him come back in the fourth quarter at any point. But overall, I thought it was a solid showing from Luka given the circumstances. He was in the G League less than a week ago, averaging 21 points per game for the Austin Spurs, and last night he got thrust into the starting lineup for a shorthanded Spurs team that has just been ravaged by COVID protocols and the unfortunate passing of DeMar DeRozan's father. And I think he really responded pretty well to this challenge. Popovich put him in a pretty favorable situation, low usage role, low responsibility, mostly a decoy in the corner, nothing too complicated. But the biggest difference for me from last season to this season was just how comfortable Luka Samanic looked out on the court. And for the people who were saying he was a bust, I think it was way too soon. And on the other side of the coin, the people who were saying, future superstar, unicorn, I don't necessarily agree with that either. But what I do think is Luka Samanic belongs in the NBA. I think he showed he can be a serviceable role player, and down the road, maybe he's a starter, maybe he's better than that. We don't really know what his ceiling is yet. We've had some glimpses of some really intriguing mobility for a big man, some shooting potential for a big man, some defensive potential for a big man, especially on the perimeter, especially as a man-to-man defender against smaller players. So I'm really excited to see what Luka Samanic brings to the table. This is going to be an excellent opportunity for him to get his feet wet in the NBA. But as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, and hit that notification button if you want to know when the next videos are dropping. But until next time, take care.